Welcome everyone to the MedSpa Accelerator podcast, brought to you by Everwell Marketing, the go-to resource so you can get the latest hacks and best practices to market and grow a profitable medical aesthetics practice. My name is Maripili and I am obsessed with all things business, marketing, operations, numbers, and helping you grow and take your MedSpa to the next level. This is the MedSpa Accelerator podcast, Season 2. So I'm in my office and I am a little bit sad because this is actually going to become a guest room. And the reason that is because our guest room is actually going to become Lucas' room. And that makes me a little bit sad too because he's growing up so fast. I really like my office. It is the one room in the house where I can close the door and I can really fully concentrate on what I'm doing. But it totally makes sense because, to be honest, I'm with Luca most of the time and I can just bring my laptop anywhere, play with him, be with him, and while he's playing and still do some work. So it's not like we have guests all the time, right? So I still be able to can have this guest room / office. But I'm definitely going to miss this background. I painted that wall and I had huge plans for this office, which have just become different plans now. Anyways, this is just if you're watching the YouTube video. If you are in audio, you really just want to know about the topic for today. And so, just to bring you back a little bit, when Luisa and I started Everwell, we were huge on lead generation. That was our main and only thing, right? We created leads and helped bring in leads to the practices that we helped. And so we pretty quickly started working with a lot of people throughout the United States to help them with that. But we soon realized that that wasn't enough. We actually started getting conversations with people about, hey, I'm getting a lot of people into the system, but people are either not responding to the messages. When we call them, it's really hard to track them down. When we do, then they say that they don't know who we are or what we're calling or what a cool sculpting is. Back then, we mainly specialized with cool sculpting. So, and I'm pretty sure you've heard this story again and again, right? Like your staff members are trying to get with people and they just don't get that same result, right? And so we realized that this was directly tied to the revenue because we were doing the job, right, that we were brought on, which was lead generation, generating leads so that you could potentially sell them. The thing though was that the sales weren't there, right? People were not booking appointments. And if they were, and the few that were, either didn't show up or had to cancel or reschedule, or the few that actually did show up were not purchasing. Which meant that honestly, what we did was not giving the impact that we wanted. So we had to take a step back and really think, okay, what can we do? What is happening really? And what can we do to understand this industry to the best of its ability without opening a MedSpa ourselves, right? Because that would be a whole other thing. And we've thought about it, not gonna lie, we've thought about it, but I don't think that is in the future for us, at least not yet. I'm not gonna say never, but not yet. So we really wanted to understand it, right? So we actually traveled to our clients and we met with a few of them and really talked to, of course, the business owner, because you guys are what really brings everything together. And we really wanted to understand the overview. And even understanding the overview, we understood there were even a couple issues in there when somebody had a bigger practice and had a lot of staff people, but also when it was a smaller practice and it was just a couple of people. Now, not only did we have conversations with the owner, which gave us a whole different perspective, but also we had conversations with the staff members. We were with them for a few days, enough to really be almost a fly on the wall, just see how everything is working, and really also asking them their day-to-day questions. What was going on? What was really happening in their day-to-day? And what happened when a new lead came in? What did that process look like? And what happened in the actual consultation process, right? So very quickly, Luis and I were able to understand that there were three main problems inside the industry. The first one's being that the MedSpas don't know how to communicate their competitive advantage. And that is so much more important now than ever, because there are new MedSpas popping out every single day. And even in a small town, and let alone a big city, there's so many MedSpas. Most of them having the same services, the same technologies, and even the same offers. Because especially if you are having one specific technology, such as cool sculpting or M-Sculpt or cryoskin, then the company tells you what you can and cannot do as far as the special goes. What much of a discount can you give? How would you package it? So imagine everybody's doing the same thing. How do you stand out? How can you compete with anybody and everybody else? So that was the first thing that we noticed. Second to that, we noticed that there is not a systematic way to have leads coming in through the pipeline on a consistent basis. We want leads coming in daily and weekly, right? All the time coming in. And so when I have conversations with people about this, they cannot tell me that yes, they do some community outreach, maybe they do some strategic partnerships here and there, but that is not consistent. They have these things every so often. They're putting out social media content all the time, but it's still not consistent. You can get one or two people here and there, maybe like months later you get somebody else that saw what you posted 3 months ago. So it's not consistent, and it's just not a good way of keeping up with your revenue and your overhead costs, right? Now, and number three, what we really notice is that the staff doesn't always have the best practices. And even if they do, they just don't have the time to keep up with all the new leads that are coming in through the door. Because we understand they have already their day-to-day and it's really busy, especially if you are a smaller practice where you have the same staff member being front desk, but also sometimes being part of the consultations and also sometimes even being estheticians and technicians themselves. So it just gets really complicated and really busy and just so overwhelming. And so what we wanted to do is bring in solutions for each of these things. So the first one is not knowing that competitive advantage, right? And so what I want us to do is a little exercise where the one thing that you need to answer is, if I am your ideal audience, and think of who that person is, right? Think of your favorite client, that person that comes back again and again for a little more. Or you can think a little bit broader on, like, maybe it's a woman in between like her 30s and 40s or 50s, and she has had kids and she wants to invest in herself and she wants to feel better about her body, and she might want to fit in those jeans that she has in the back of her closet and just waiting for that day to come. And she's tried exercise and eating healthy, but she just doesn't have the time to do maybe surgery. So she's looking for you know what I mean? You can really get specific with that. And so if I am your ideal client, why should I go to you versus anybody else? That is the one question that you need to answer. And so as you are writing this down, you're going to notice a trend. So I'm going to give you a minute to go and really get this down. But once you do, you're going to notice this trend, that anything that you put in there is all about you. How are you different? You have the experience, you have the certifications, you have the know-how, you have a special technique. Maybe you have other services that you can add onto this to complement the results. You have a way of explaining things, right? That nobody else has. Your personality brings in people and really helps them to trust you and to understand where they're coming from when they are coming to you, because it is a very vulnerable space. The medical aesthetics industry can be very vulnerable because I'm coming to you with my insecurities, what I don't like about my body, what I don't like about my face, or whatever that might be, right? And so we want to go to somebody that we know, we like, and we trust. So how do we go about this, right? Making sure that you understand what makes you unique. And then second to that, you know it, but people don't. So we need to really put that information out there, right? We want to make sure that people know who you are. And sometimes it can get a little hard because it almost seems like you're bragging about yourself, but you're not. You're actually doing a service to somebody. You have this amazing knowledge, you have all the services, and you really just need to put it out there in front of the right people, and they're going to connect, they're going to understand, and they're going to know that going to you is the obvious choice. Now, the second one, actually getting like a good, consistent lead generation, and also making sure that those leads actually book. That is the really big part, right? Because like we said in the beginning, we can generate leads. That's not an issue. We can just put a little bit more money here and there and make the ad so that we can get leads coming in. But it doesn't matter if we have 100 leads, 200 leads, 300 leads, if nothing is happening with them. Right? It doesn't matter how many leads if they do not end up booking and if they don't end up showing up. And even more so than that, if they don't actually end up purchasing anything, because that also happens, right? And so we also have situations where, a client tells us, hey, we had 50 appointments this month and nothing. Like we did not sell a single package, or we sold one. Well, then we understand that sales has become an issue. But maybe even more than that, maybe these people are still shopping around because next to you, there are 3, 4, 5 more MedSpas that they are also checking out. Maybe they're just price hunting because honestly, at the end of the day, people, when they don't know who to go with, they're just gonna go with maybe the best price. And we really want them to go with the best service, with the person that they click with the most, right? And so we want that to be you. Now, we want to make sure that there is a systematic approach to this, right? A way so that every single time that somebody comes in through the door, they go through the same process to book and the same process to actually show up. And even more than that, the same process so they can actually end up purchasing a service. And so this has to become a really systematic way. Now, this is really tied with that third one, right? The staff doesn't really have the time. They are already doing a million other things. And then we're asking them to reach out to 200 more people that, at the end of the day, some of these people are cold leads, right? That means that there are people that were on their couch, just kind of scrolling on, going through their day, and they saw your ad and they are like, hey, this looks interesting. But they're not in the right mindset. They're not in the mindset of booking now and buying now. We need to nurture them. We need to indoctrinate them. We really need to give them all of the information and stay top of mind so that when they are ready to purchase, we, again, are the obvious choice, right? And so we understood that those 3 elements really needed to be in it together so that advertising can be effective. So again, going back to, we need to make sure that your brand, your message is set out, that you can stand out from the crowd. Second to that, we want a systematic way to bring in leads and to convert those leads into booked appointments. And then we want to make sure that this makes sense for your staff so that they don't drop the ball and they feel like they are contributing to your business. Because one of the things that we really did notice when we were talking to the staff is that they don't have all those extra hours to be calling. And sometimes it can even get you down. I mean, if you are calling people and you're hearing again and again or every so often, hey, I just want another price and that's it, and you just lose them. Or sometimes people are not as peppy in the phone, so they're just really monotone and you don't know how to connect with them. It can get the staff really down, and maybe the next day they won't do a great of a job, or they will just call less people, or they would just end up not doing that and doing something that brings them more energy and more happiness and more value. So we really need to implement a system so that they can still go on through their day, do the things that really makes an impact in the now of the system, but the system is still working for you. Does that make sense? So that is in a nutshell the three main problems that we saw in the MedSpa industry and exactly the solutions that we wanted to implement when working with somebody. Now, if you are thinking, okay, well, what next? Then I encourage you to get a free consultation call with one of my team members so that we can talk about what you're currently doing in your marketing, what your goals are, and how can we make that connection? How can marketing help you get to that next goal? If you like this video, make sure to give it a big thumbs up. Click on the subscribe button as well as the notification bell so you can see that we add new content every other week on how to help you thrive in the MedSpa space. Now, if you want a little bit more and the perfect formula on how you can stand out from the crowd, make sure to go to our Facebook MedSpa Accelerator podcast group, because in there we have a lot more resources on how you can specifically grow your business. I'll see you there. Bye.